Hey y'all, welcome back to FEMMES at Large presents Femininity and whatever we're going to talk about. I'm Marz,
And I'm January.
and today we are going to be talking about Caitlin Clark and the Great White Hope. But before we get
Yes,
into that,
ma'am.
we have one or two. It's been a dry week. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's been a dry month. As far as gossip hot topics go, Jan, did you have any pressing topics or issues you wanted to get into?
Everything is just about Caitlin Clark today. That's all that's been on my mind.
Period.
Other than that, I haven't really seen much, actually.
I do for the chismosas. I do have a little bit of gossip, just a little bit, just a little tiny little crumb. Um, so Nicki Minaj. The
Sorry.
rumor, the rumor in the streets, the word on the grapevine, the people are whispering, and they're saying, not me, allegedly, they're saying that she, Onika Mirage, and that man Kenneth Powers may no longer be together. Before I get into why I think I know what I know, did you see this?
I did. I saw that snippet of her live or video that she posted of her
Oh my god, yeah, yeah,
crying,
yeah, 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 yeah.
and it
Miles,
broke
go
my
ahead and
heart.
drop that in the.
It broke my heart. It was really sad to see.
No,
But I'm gonna let
genuinely,
you.
yeah.
I'm gonna let you get into it first, and then I'll give you my thoughts.
Right, yeah. So there was a video of Nikki looking presumably intoxicated under a substance of we will never know. Again, allegedly. Just looking at just the way she's speaking and just kind of just the look in her face and in her eyes. She doesn't look sober, I will say that. And she's essentially saying in the video, which I'm sure you Miles already put it in, but yeah, so that first came out. There's 1,000 wild rumors that have surfaced since. One of them being like they found these old tweets of one of Kenneth's old friends or current friends, and they like hated Nikki. Like all these tweets of Kenneth's friends, like they're hating on Nikki. Like she used to be so scary, da 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 da. Like, and they were like from when she like first came out, like they're old tweets. Um, and the rumor is that he like ran off on her and took a bunch of money, allegedly. Again, I'm not. I'm not trying to speak that he was essentially the rumors that essentially he was playing the long game, um, which I mean I wouldn't put it past him, but the reason why I feel so strongly that she's now a single mother, one, that video it gave, I'm doing this by myself, and I feel like anytime a woman is like, if nobody's told you today, you're doing amazing, like that's typically a single mother speaking to a single mother. Like I don't think, and that's not a bad thing. I grew up
It's
with a single
not.
mother, but it's just like that. I know that language. I know what the
Yeah.
subtext is, allegedly. And
Yeah.
then this tweet, Miles, go ahead, pop it up. Um, so, she says, Happy Father's Day, little N words. Live it up. F what your BM gotta say, homie. Just remember, your sperm did its job. And that's on what? No period. So,
I'm sorry.
form your own conclusions. Um,
What? What?
do with this what you will. I'm just here to
What
tell
is
you the
going
news.
on?
That's all I'm here to do. I'm not here to think for you. But, it's just after all that, after all of that, to be a single mother is crazy. You married a sex offender. Registered.
On
For what?
purpose.
To be a single mother like the rest of like
Uh,
allegedly. I don't know. I don't wish this on her. I really do. Like, it's so clear that she so badly wanted a family,
yeah.
So I can't. But it's just like, Diva, you're the Nicki Minaj. At one point, you could have had literally anybody, and you
Mm-hmm.
chose that to end up like this. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying I hope it's true. Excuse me. I'm not saying I hope it's true. I'm just saying the way it's looking, I see the signs.
This is so layered. I didn't know that all of this was occurring. It's just first I want to say I'm sad cuz like I don't ever want to see, especially a black woman, go through something like this publicly. It's not fun. It's not cool. And I really feel for her because, like you said, like you could tell she really wanted a family, and a part of her felt safe with this person that she grew up with. But when someone tells you who they are, believe them the first time.
Believe them the first time, diva.
There was actual like evidence of him like being not the greatest person, and I think that should have been your clue. But instead, you terrorized his victim allegedly. So
and that's unfortunately exactly where my sympathy stops. That's exactly where my sympathy stops. Had she not acted the way she has with the past year with another black woman going through turmoil and tribulation, had she not acted the way she acted when Cardi was pregnant, had she not acted the way that she acted with his this man's victims, a part of me, black woman to black woman, would be able to feel for her in her trying times. But guess what? Now you get told you so. Now you get the finger. Now I'm gonna point and laugh. Unfortunately, now I'm gonna point and laugh.
Yeah, I don't know, cause with her, like I kind of just stopped paying attention for real, cause I just was like, you know, she's gonna. It's not even worth getting upset about because I know who she is at this point and like what she's gonna do. But I hope this is a lesson to like stop being a pick-me, stop siding with the patriarchy and toxic masculinity, so
it'll
that
never serve you.
It's never gonna serve you, and like you know, it's never. You're gonna always end up on this side of it. Like it's always going to stop. There's always a point where it's like it runs out, and then you're sitting there and we're both looking at each other like, what just happened, you know? So that's kind of what I took from it. But I do feel for her because that's not fun, and it's not cool to do that to somebody. So I'm wishing her the best to a degree, but also hope she learned her lesson.
Exactly. Yeah, it's given. Talk about it now, hope you get it later. But I do have one more topic because it just came to mind. I'll send it in the chat. You heard about that lady that got 14 kids? 14. I said 14.
The Derricos family?
So apparently they're getting a divorce.
Yeah, I heard that. I was just talking to somebody about that.
So do they split the kids up? Like what?
So I guess
they gonna have all 14 one day. He gonna have all 14 on the weekends. They didn't think these through. You're not leaving me with 14 kids.
You just gotta stick it out. At that point, we're just gonna be miserable.
Yeah, till death.
Like, cause what are we doing?
You're not leaving me with 14 kids and picking them up on Christmas and birthdays.
I think he's only paying like $1,100 in child support each month.
Excuse me? Excuse me? You said 1,100. Wait, one more time. Repeat what you said, please. Because I don't think I heard what you said.
Hold on, I'm look it up.
There's no way that's what you said to me.
Fred, he only gotta pay $1,100. I promise you. Hold on.
No, I'm so sorry. That can't be the truth. That can't be. That can't be the truth. There's no way you said $1,100 for 14 children. You can't even wipe your ass with $1,100 in today's economy. A month?
Okay.
A month?
Wait, hold on. Let me get the right Derrico, because I didn't know there's more than one Derrico family.
All right.
Divorce. Let me see if I can find it. It was on TMZ, I think.
Not TMZ.
Oh, my God.
Oh. How do they be knowing this stuff?
I don't freaking know.
Who is spilling their tea?
People be calling in at this point. Okay, so Karen and Dion Derrico divorced, joint legal fiscal custody of 13 minor kids.
Oh, 13.
They filed,
Excuse me.
They filed for divorce on June 4th and received the judgment 2 days later on June 6th, splitting legal and physical custody of their 13 minor children equally between the two parents. According to the court documents obtained by TMZ, Dion will pay $1,166 a month.
I don't even know where to start, man. 1,100 American dollars. We not talking about euros, right? We talk about American dollars.
No, we talk about USD. Dion will pay $1,166 in USD dollars a month in child support, while Karen won't pay
13 human children.
We're not talking about dogs. Karen won't pay any child support because she will bear the responsibility of the kids' medical insurance. So what makes me sad is like they probably weren't making much overall. So like
for that to be his payment.
Yeah.
They don't make no money from. They don't make no videos on YouTube or something. Why are they famous? For having a bunch of kids?
I wonder. But you know, that's how reality and TLC and stuff like that. Like they'll pay you like a little bit, but I don't think it's like enough for like all the time you end up spending with them. I don't think it's gonna like. I don't think
they ain't got that like John and Kate plus 8 money.
I guess not.
Because they made a pretty penny off of that.
They made so much
this
money.
Is the craziest thing I think I've heard the entire month.
$1,166 in child support. I was just like, wow.
It's $66. Right, yeah, to add insult to injury. That's crazy. For 13 kids to do what? To do what?
Insane.
That's paying one bill.
It's 13 minor kids, and then they have like an older
a grown
daughter
child
who's going to school, I think, and
she's probably like
so
19
14.
or something.
Yeah, like 18, 19.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, all I can say about that, the minute I heard that story, I said, get off of her! Get off of her! Get off! Get a job! Get off of her! That was the first thing I said. And then it felt like I blinked and the next minute they divorced. Like, I just found out about these people and all of a sudden they get a divorce. It's making my eyebrow twitch. Like, this is the craziest thing I've ever heard. 1,100 is insane. Wow.
It's actually insane. Yeah.
I was already, like, out of my mind and frustrated about what was going on to her womb. It's just 1,100. Nah, you gotta take half or you gotta stay forever. I don't know what to tell you.
And then
you
like,
gotta move next door or something.
Money. You probably lose all that money for the show too, cause like, what do you do once you're divorced? If you're not like a unit, do you have a show?
Well, John and Kate, that had a similar situation. Like the parents didn't stay together, or something like that.
I forgot.
That woman is also apparently a horrible person. They have like a whole documentary. I didn't have the stomach to watch it. I wanted to watch. Whenever it deals with kids getting like, I wanted to watch. Whenever it deals with kids and abusive parents, I can't. Like that whole Gypsy Rose thing, never watched it.
Oh, that was a lot.
I didn't
watch it, but yeah, I think I'm just so fascinated by like the gumption to want to have 14 or 8 kids. That's number one. And number two, like realizing, oh crap, I gotta raise them. And then
and then there was that the other show with the white people, 19 and Counting or something.
Yes,
they have a horrible backstory too. I watched a documentary on them. Too good. That one was good.
I watched that one. That was good.
That one was good. Yeah. I don't know what to say.
Either.
$1,100 is not a real figure. That's not why. No. You need to move up the street or something. There's no way you're leaving the city with me and 13 children.
Yeah, that's actually crazy.
How do you even like drive them to school? I know they're not all the same age, but like
you have like a caravan. Like, do you get like those big passenger vans?
That's basically a bus at that point. That's basically a bus, unless we like they lapped up.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was the hot topics for today.
It wasn't as dry as we thought, Frank? Because that is a mess.
That's a mess. Oh my God, I can't wait to dive into that. Yeah, sorry to that lady. And just one more thing. The one video I saw about this lady talking about her kids, she was saying how she wanted more. that she wasn't done.
Yeah, I remember that too. I think I had heard that they were trying to get pregnant again, and I was just like,
Get
you almost died.
off of her. That's how I feel about ASAP and Rihanna at this point.
Let them live their life. She never given us an album. We just gotta accept that.
You getting Fenty home goods before you getting a Fenty album.
Oh, absolutely.
You're not getting Fenty music ever again.
I would get a Fenty fake plant. I would get that.
Don't make me mad, January. What are you talking about?
That's my job.
Fenty home goods is crazy. Fenty hair, Fenty makeup. We got Fenty clothing.
Bruh, did you get into the whole like thing about her hair in the wearing the wig in the promotion for Fenty hair?
Ooh, okay.
Oh, we didn't even talk about
Miles,
that.
take out the part where I said that this was the topics of the day. Or leave it in. It's funny. Let's get into it. Let's get into it because you start. Do you think
I
it
didn't
was a
really,
wig?
because I was gonna ask it because I didn't get too deep into it. From the glance that I saw from like someone taking this, I was like, "Oh, that's a cute wig," but I didn't even really like read the tweet. Like, you know, when you see something, like, "Oh, that's a cute wig,"
With the 27 piece, yeah, 613 27 piece is crazy. And did you see the video where they was washing her hair? Because that's
no,
where
I didn't watch it.
So that's where a lot of the drama, like, yes, when she announced it, why was she in a wig? That was crazy. But then there's a video of them washing her hair, and she is so clearly in a 27 piece, and it's not her natural hair being washed. And listen, y'all could beat me up about it if you want to. Catch me if you can. But that is why, like, I understand that it's marketed as it works for, like, wigs and stuff too. Sacred is as well. I just watched a video like a couple weeks ago of this creator that I've watched forever. Their name is Alfred, and they have wiggetry beyond your wildest dreams. Like, they're doing things with wigs that I don't even know if luxury law has gotten into. No, I'm joking. Nobody has better lace technology than luxury law, but or La Roche.
La Roche is
yeah, that washing the wig while it's on her head. Because I think the biggest thing is, like, I don't know if we've ever seen her natural hair. Like, that kind of became the conversation that I saw on Twitter. And I was like, now that I think about it, I don't know that I have seen her natural hair. And then it became a whole thing about what's her actual texture, and that by that point I was like, all right, we doing too much.
Yeah, I'm out of here.
I'm out of here. But announcing in the wig was crazy. It was crazy.
But Fred, wait, didn't she pop crazy. Out with her real hair? Like,
apparently, yeah. So she was like just walking around New York City doing something, and she had her natural curls out. Yeah. But it just made it so much more apparent that when that video of them washing her hair in the sink, it was not her hair. It was a 27 piece, and that's crazy to me. Why are you washing a wig on your head? Why did we do that?
Yeah.
I have no beef with her. She, at the end of the day, is about that money, money, honey, which makes her a capitalist. But nobody wants to hear it. You can say the same about Beyonce. Nobody is above critique with me, unfortunately. Nobody. So did it surprise me when Fenty Care came out? Absolutely not. Did I feel any kind of way when she was washing a wig in the hair salon and pretending that they was using her products on her hair? Absolutely not. I don't feel no type of way. She's getting to the money. I don't feel no ways. Do you feel any type of way?
I don't. I think she's just so unserious. Like, I can't even really be mad at her because I know she just be doing whatever she want and then laughing about it at home with the kids. So I think it's just all a joke. She joke, like, it's a joke. And, like, with her, I think her being Caribbean, too, she's just a business person. She's going to be a capitalist. Like, I've accepted that. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't really take her seriously, for real. But it was just funny discourse. And I remember thinking, wow, this is blowing up. And then I just, like, kept scrolling.
Same.
But, yeah, so I just thought that was funny.
Yeah, you're never going to get Fenty music again.
No.
You're never going to get it.
I've accepted it.
Yeah, and so have I. I can't call myself a stan, but I love Anti changed my life. Like,
Anti was
Anti is
amazing.
probably top 10 albums of all time for me.
Yeah.
And then she was never seen again when the world needed her most.
I mean, she used to drop so much. I mean,
I know,
maybe
yeah,
we
she was
needed that.
very consistent right up until
She
Anti,
was.
and then she left just like Frank. I can't be upset, but you know, at the end of the day, I do want the music. I think that's where a lot of the frustration is coming from. It's you haven't given us music since 2017, 2016, and then
Right.
the nerve of you to be selling products and washing your wig. I think that's where a lot of the
Yeah. You're insulting our intelligence at this
at this
point.
point.
That's fair. That's fair.
If I'm wrong or if I'm off base, y'all let me know. But that's the vibe that I'm getting at this point is that Diva, you ain't dropped in since I get it how I live it. I live it how I get it. We ain't got nothing from you since the track with Pharrell, dog, or with the song you did for was it the Lion King?
It was
No, it was
Black.
Wakanda
Yeah, Black Panther. It was
Black Panther.
yeah.
Hand me up. We said, shut up, girl. I'm sorry. I did. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. You ever just be minding your business and that song come on? I'm like, girl, please be quiet. I'm so sorry. I'm very annoying today. Okay, all right. That was
So
it.
funny. Thank you so much for those topics today, Marz. You have me rolling. It actually wasn't as dry as we thought it was, and that was fun. So I appreciate you.
We always gonna have something to talk about.
Always.
But what we're really here to talk about this week is the shenanigans that is the current state of conversation surrounding the WNBA, specifically Caitlin Clark and this concept of the Great White Hope. So go ahead and walk us through this, January.
Yeah, thank you so much, Marz. I haven't gone too deep into this one because I have already personal experience dealing with just basketball in general and like how like the media consumes it, and especially when it comes to black players and white players and all that. So this was pretty interesting for me. But yeah, so we're gonna start with Caitlin Clark. She currently is in the WNBA. She plays for the Indiana Fever. She's a shooting guard, known to be one of the best shooting guards that we have seen so far to some people. I remember watching her in college, and she was really great. I didn't watch her like heavy because I was just more focused on like teams in the SEC. Like that's just like I played in the SEC, so that's what I focus on. But one thing that I really appreciated, her shot is really beautiful. Like she has like a quick release, and that's why some people have compared her to Steph Curry, just because her shot is just so quick. And I'm just like, whoa, like
She's
you don't
a shooter.
see that. She's a shooter, and she's really good at it. But yeah, so that's kind of what I have gathered from watching her play over the years, the times I have watched her play. And you know, players are gonna ball, players are gonna be players, but especially when it comes to sports, there's always a dynamic of racism and divide that's always been there, whether it's been spoken or unspoken. There's been different things that have come up that have pushed that conversation, but nothing like this, and especially in the WNBA. This has kind of, I think, been the first time that it's really been like cracked wide open to where people that aren't usually in the sphere of women's basketball are now in the sphere of women's basketball, and now everybody's having to contend with the racial divide and the racial conversations that are coming up as because of this. And the not only the part of the league, but also the part of the media, and also maybe even the part of Caitlin Clark and what she has and all of this. So we're gonna dig into that. So like many things, it never just starts off with one thing. It starts off with the concept of the Great White Hope. Marz, what have you ever heard of this term? What's your familiarity with this term?
Yeah, I remember. We're not like a huge basketball family, but I've watched enough of 30 for 30 to kind of get the gist. I think it was more of a thing like in like the like 70s and 80s of basketball. But I don't know that I could pinpoint exact players that were like that was kind of when they came into the league, that was kind of their role. as far as the NBA goes. As far as the WNBA, I don't know that this was specifically an issue in that league. When I was younger, I remember like, you know, Lisa Leslie and like those players, and they were really dominating. And I don't know. I don't really think it was an issue in the women's league, but please enlighten me.
No, absolutely. There has always been kind of threads of different players. One player in particular that I always think about when I think of the Great White Hope is Christian Laettner. He played for Duke University, and he was hated by many, but white people loved him. I think they really like galvanized behind him, especially in a league that's predominantly black, or at least the star players are predominantly black. So there's always like this narrative that comes about where it's like you have these aggressive black players who are just rough and tough and hooligans, or whatever the term is for black people at that time. And then you have the golden angel white person who's just a tough person. They're gritty. They really get after it, and they're just trying to win, and they're trying to win when they're being attacked or beat up or deferred in any way, even if it's just competition, right? So it didn't start with Christian Laettner. It didn't even start with Larry Bird. It actually started in 1910.
That's who I was trying to grasp. I was like, that would be the only one that I could think would be like their like symbol of like, yes, white men can ball. Yes, we can.
Don't get it mistaken. Larry Bird was raw, okay?
Yeah.
He could ball.
Yeah. He was
but at the same time, was he propped up to help white America come to terms with the fact that maybe there were other black athletes that might just be better or have more players and abilities to win, right? So it didn't start with Larry Bird either. It actually started in 1910 with the boxer named Jack Johnson. He was a black man who was trying to become the first first Negro at that time heavyweight champion of the world. They didn't want him to be. So much so that one of the best white boxers at the time, his name was James J. Jeffries, retired early because he didn't want to lose his title to a black man, right?
Wow.
He was like, I don't want to deal with this. I'm just gonna go ahead and retire. And but it got to the point where Jack Johnson was so good, like he was beating up everybody, and so white media, he was beating everybody, right? So white media, actually the first person to come up with the term, the writer Jack London was trying to galvanize any white boxer. They even asked James J. Jeffries to come back to fight Jack Johnson so that he could stop Jack Johnson from winning. And in the media, Jack London was the writer who first called James Jeffries the Great White Hope.
Wow.
We have to Jack London openly called for a great white hope to step up to win back their racist pride, right? So literally that was what was happening.
Racism is something, man.
It is.
They said, please, like, anybody beat this Negro, please.
It's literally unbelievable. It's amazing in the way of like how much racism has brought so much culture and actually forced black people to strive to create history, to create culture.
You simply left us no choice.
Like we just had the ball. So so that's kind of where it originated from. All that to say, Jack Johnson still won, and he became the first Negro heavyweight champion of the world. They actually made a movie about it. I think it is called The Great White Hope. So, and I think it ended up turning into a musical or a play. I can't remember which one, but if you're going to watch it. So so that's kind of where it originated, and you always just kind of see this thread. You always hear it, like, whenever there's a white player that happens to be a little bit better than the rest and can kind of stand on their own, white America will literally galvanize behind it and do whatever they can to make sure that person is propped up and create a narrative that they are the chosen one to a degree, that everything is against them, and gaslight anybody else into thinking that, like, you know, maybe other black players are just competitors. Maybe, like, we're actually just trying to win, and they may be better at some things than she is at others. But, hey, that's either near or there, right?
Sounding familiar.
Sounding a little familiar.
It's as if history seems to repeat itself.
Repeat over and over and over again. So that's kind of where it originated from. So then we come into Caitlin Clark herself. So she grew up in West Des Moines, Iowa, and she started playing basketball at the age of 5. She was always really good. Her dad was a coach, and so he put her in boys leagues because the girls leagues just weren't as like they weren't as advanced back then.
Right.
So he put her in those leagues. She played with like her cousins, her brothers, and so that's one of the things I've seen in a lot of the articles about her is that she's just gritty and she's tough, and she was able to like play against the boys and prove herself. And it's tough. Like if you have the experience of being in a male-dominated sport, especially growing up, it's really hard because you're judged. Like there's a lot of it's just like like toxic masculinity, but really a lot of femphobia of like you're not good enough, you're too weak, you're genetically your bones or whatever, you're not strong enough, like you have to fight that. So she did overcome that, and she became one of the greatest players in Iowa. She has like tons of accolades. Y'all can look it up. Like I looked it up and I was like, there's too many to list. Like she's really great. She was great in high school. She actually didn't get an offer from Gino Auriemma, which I thought was very interesting. He is the head coach for UConn women's basketball, and I read that. I was like, dang, like I wonder how he feels, because I mean, I think at the time when they were recruiting, he was like, UConn was really great, so he's probably very selective. But I'm like, if she was doing so great, like why didn't you even reach out? But anyway, I thought that was interesting.
Wow.
But she was the first college player, man or woman, to have a 40-point triple-double. She beat the point scoring like number for men or women. There was some speculation because there were some women's basketball players like way back in the day where like they didn't really count, or they were NAIA, but like respectfully, she beat Kelsey Plum's record. Kelsey Plum originally had the record, so yeah. So she's raw. I'm gonna give her flowers. Like she actually is a really great player, and that should not be dismissed at all. Caitlin Clark, like she is a great player, and no one is taking that away from her. We've seen it. Like I said, her release on her shot is, I think, the beauty of her game, and I think that's what like draws her from the rest of the group. Right. What I cannot condone or accept is the type of fans that she has, and like how the way she is being used and propped up in the media, in society, it's detrimental to not just the WNBA, but just Black women and the image of them in general. And so we're going to get into it. And we're going to even just talk about where it started and how we ended up in this.
Yes.
So essentially, every story you have a hero, and what else do you have? You have a villain, right? Got to have the villain. But for Caitlin Clark, she was a great player, and people knew she was a great player, but she wasn't really thrust into stardom until the NCAA tournament of 2003. Not 2000. Sorry. The NCAA tournament of 2023. Dang, I'm old.
Right.
That is pretty much like Caitlin Clark's villain origin, or essentially Angel Reese's villain origin story, if you were to call her the villain.
Yes, absolutely.
So basically, Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, they played against each other growing up. They're both our top recruits growing up, top players, so they know of each other, they played against each other, it happens. So then they get into college. Angel Reese plays for LSU, Caitlin Clark plays for Iowa. They end up playing against each other in the semis of the NCAA tournament. I would say like the elite, was it Elite Eight? It'd have to be. No, it was Final Four. It was Final Four. So one thing, Caitlin Clark, coming to this game, Caitlin Clark has been a great player, but there's also some undesirable things about Caitlin Clark's play, okay? She likes to hype up the crowd, but in that, she's very aggressive, and actually does some pretty dirty plays to other players on other teams. There's a lot of grabbing of shirts. There's a lot of pushing off with forearms. There's a lot of elbows. There's a lot of, holding people elbow to elbow. There's a lot of that going on. Let's call it what it is. Whiteness helps you to not get those calls as much. It's seen as you're not as aggressive. You're just playing the game or whatever. So she had gotten away with it. And a lot of her celebrations and her being aggressive was just seen as oh, she's just an amazing player with a lot of grit and a lot of tough skills. And one thing that she would do is she would do this thing, I guess a John Cena, right? So she would do that. From some tweets and some things it said she wasn't doing it for celebration. It was actually for either a play or something was going on that she was doing it for. I'm not so sure if that's true or not. I have to look at it some more, but that was one thing that was said. So anyway, we didn't know that at the time. All we knew was she liked to do this, especially when she was doing well, making great plays. I mean, at this point, she's having multiple triple-double nights, 40-point games. Hey, if you got it, you got it. Okay, but right. The way she does it, to me, it just was kind of I'm not really feeling it, but whatever, right?
Right.
So then, her and Angel Reese end up playing against each other, and it was a tough game, but obviously LSU just, they were playing well, and they started to break away, and after one of the big runs that they had, Angel Reese did this, and then did this, right? So, okay, this should be seen as fun. This should be seen as, oh, this is competitive. Look at these two teams going at it, back to back, going against each other. Right, exactly. It's fun, for the fans, whatever. But quickly after that game, especially after Caitlin Clark's loss, it was seen as taunting. Okay?
I remember.
It was seen as taunting. And I remember it because it was a huge debate. When it gets to Facebook, it's over, right? When it gets to Facebook, it's a whole discourse. And you're I didn't even want it to get here. That's what happened between Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. And it became an issue of race. Because whether you've played basketball or not, whether wherever you are, especially as a Black American, you understand the discourses that comes with this conversation of when Caitlin Clark does it, it is seen as spirited, confident, gritty, but when Angel Reese does it, it's seen as unsportsmanlike, taunting. And this actually this started the whole beef when there was no beef, and still is no beef between these two players.
I think it was born in that moment.
That moment, it was over, and people still have been holding on to that for dear life, and especially the media, but we're going to get into that later. But that is the culmination of where this all really started, and we just haven't been able to shake it since. And from then, that rose Caitlin Clark to a stardom that's just been different, and it rose Angel Reese to stardom as well, but she had to deal with very racist people, very racist discourse, and a lot of pressure. That honestly someone between the ages of 18 to 22 or 24 shouldn't have to deal with that. But she had to deal with it. I think she handled it pretty well. They met again. Wait, no. Dang, did they play in the championship? I'm sorry. That happened in the championship of 2023. They met again in the Final Four of 2024. And this time, Iowa did beat LSU. But at this point, it had been hyped up so much to this moment. And so, it was some people described it as a race war on Twitter. It
was crazy. No, it was
It was intense. It was so intense. And then they made the South Carolina game, Iowa game, the second race war of Dog Daly, you gotta win. And it's kind of one of them unspoken things of especially when it's there's been other championship games and other games where it's gotten to that point. I can think of the Lakers and Boston Celtics. You know what I'm saying? Even though Boston does have Black players on it, it's like when Larry Bird was on the team versus Magic Johnson, like, I don't know, it just felt like you were rooting for a certain team. There was implications behind it that were unspoken that no one wants to say out loud, even though they're blaring and in your face. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So from there, like, that is what has happened with this beef between Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark. It's always been there. It's gonna be there for a while, but it's actually like turned into something really crazy.
Yeah.
So what's your experience with, before I get going, what's your experience with the whole Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark beef? How did you come to it? Like, what are your feelings?
Right, yeah. So I was actively on Twitter when that game with the John Cena gate happened. I saw clips side by side of when, am I lagging?
No, not mine.
Oh, okay. I saw the clips side by side when what's her name? Caitlyn did it, and then when Angel then did it back to her. Even if it was her being like, in your face, ain't that what sports ball is about? Like, I'm not coming at this as an athlete, I'm coming at this as an audience member, and just like, you know, I love a show. Mm-hmm. But I'm not like sports minded. So from my perspective, when I saw her doing like in your face when Angel did it back to her, to me, so sorry, my pop filter came off. For me, I thought we was even Stevens. You know what I'm saying? Right. That's how I saw it. She did it to her, she did it back. Little did I know that this would have created such a you know what I'm saying, between these two fan bases. So as an outsider of sports in general, and like as a non-athlete, I could have never imagined that this would have made the discourse become what it is. So yeah, I'll stop it there. That's my current thoughts as a non-athlete, just as much as we've touched on so far.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think even non-athlete or athlete, you can always kind of feel those threads, especially in the experience of being black, of being a black woman, or assigned female at birth. Like, you're going to know what those buzzwords are, what those feelings are, and you can relate to that. And also, white America could relate to wanting to get behind an amazing white player. So, or in a black
dominated league. Just to touch on the point that you had made about being a black woman, this Twitter account, her name is Mel. I can't speak today. She tweeted, I've never been a basketball player or a sports player, but I have been a black woman for 30 years. And I see the signs and I see what is going on. You don't need to understand basketball to understand the subtext and the microaggressions of what are going on, and regular aggressions of what are going on in the discourse in the media and what's going on right now. Like, the disproportionate reactions to certain foulings or ejections or whatever calls that are made, or how aggressive somebody plays when it's Caitlyn versus a black player, are miles different. But we'll get into that more. But yeah, I've been a black woman my whole life. I can see with my own two eyes what's going on.
You can see it, you can feel it, you can hear it.
Clear as day.
Yeah. Thank you for that segue. We're going to talk about the discourse of the WNBA being way too aggressive, right? So here now, NCAA tournament for 2024, it's over. Caitlyn lost in the finals to South Carolina, and now she's on her way to the WNBA. She's #1 draft pick, going to the Indiana Fever. Everyone's really happy, like, she's close to home. It's actually pretty perfect, you know, like, everyone's really excited, like, it's gonna be great, but everybody's still hesitant, especially the people who are black, because deep down we know this is going to cause some issues. And so, you know, of course, I feel like WNBA may be a little different, but okay, let's say you're an NBA fan. The person that gets the #1 draft pick usually isn't the best team, right? So, you know, she's coming onto the Indiana Fever. They're not the greatest, right? You know, they could be better, but they're really young and they're learning. And with Caitlyn, like, she literally, like, a lot of the rookies there, too, she's not the only one. A lot of the rookies came straight in from playing college ball to going straight into the WNBA. Mm-hmm. Now, if anyone's ever played, even from high school to college, I felt a shift. It was way faster, way more competitive, and way more aggressive than I'd ever experienced. Now you put that up a notch with some of the best. So much so that many people get cut and are doing amazing in other countries because there literally just isn't enough space, right?
Right. You said there's only 13 teams or something like that.
Yeah. Shoot, I should know this. But there's not that many teams.
It's much smaller compared to the NBA.
It's much smaller. There's much smaller bench. They are building it up. Like, the WNBA to what it's become now, it's taking time. It's taking time. It's taking money. But they were building it up to this moment, essentially, to where they'd be able to expand and to take in all the media. But because of how racist and how femphobic it is, they're still reeling from it. But overall, they're expanding teams, but there's still not enough space on the roster for everybody to make it. So everybody has to be the best all the time. And with that, you just have grown women. You're playing against grown women who have played for years, right? So it's no cakewalk, and Caitlyn's having to adjust. She's trying to figure it out, and it's going to be a little bit more physical. But also, if we want to look back at how college games were, she struggled with more aggressive teams. Now, I didn't watch her play everybody, but one common thread that I had seen is that whenever she came against a team from the Southeastern Conference, which teams are known in the SEC, I mean, not to brag, but, you know, they're a little more physical. They get after it. They're a little, you know, you got to be the best to be in the SEC. Talk your shit, friend. Hey, look, I'm just saying, right? So it's tough. And whenever she played against SEC teams or teams that are more physical or aggressive, she struggled. You only needed one really good defender to, like, sit on her and just be like, you're not getting past me. And she didn't do well. So I'm not sure what her fans were thinking would happen going to play with grown women who have been in the league, some of them for decades. Yeah. So anyway, so that's kind of, her fans weren't excited about that. She comes in the league and she's getting bumped around like everybody else. So one of the biggest calls that kind of just jump-started things again was when Kennedy Carter from the Chicago Sky, which is the team that Angel Reese actually did get drafted to, did a really hard foul against Caitlin Clark. Now, this foul got blew out of proportion. Like, yes, it wasn't right. She didn't have the ball in her hands or anything. She just really just knocked her down. Yeah. But at the same time, it was a lead up. Caitlin Clark had made they were going back and forth pretty much consecutive plays. Both of them jabbing and jarring at each other. And then Kennedy was tired of it. It was just like, I'm knocking you down. Right? It happens. But it caused a firestorm. It caused the conversation of, is the WNBA too aggressive? And why are you not putting your star player in the best space to succeed? Which, there's a lot there. One of the arguments that I had was, okay, let's think about this. Like, besides just the race component, because that's always going to be there. The narrative of Kennedy Carter being more aggressive black woman, or the aggressive black women of the league are literally just like getting at her and pushing her. There's always that. That's always going to be there. But one thing I didn't think it was fair to Caitlyn because the argument was just very femphobic, which is like, why is it that women should not be aggressive in an aggressive sport? Basketball is aggressive. In these conversations, especially that black men are having on this topic, they are insinuating that they are being way too aggressive towards this player. So for me, I'm just like, one, I feel like it's insulting the game as a whole. Like, how many times have we seen NBA players get after each other? And granted, they do try to police NBA games. I think it's definitely right. Go ahead.
They let what's his name beat everybody up for how long? What's his name? Not Patrick Ewing.
No.
He straight choked somebody, and then they were
Ron
like, "Okay."
Ron Artest?
His son. his it's not his actual son, but like
Green,
Draymond.
Draymond Green. Yeah.
They let Draymond run amok for I don't know how
They
many
sure
games.
did.
I don't want to hear nothing about anybody being too aggressive. Be so serious from men that every day, all day, watch the NBA.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
please.
I agree with you.
Oh,
I honestly
brother.
feel like the conversation is like, you guys are ladies. You need to act accordingly. Why are you guys beating each other up like this? Or why are you being so hard on this? Whatever, right? So
Because I don't
think
want them to win.
Exactly.
That's
and they
my
don't want them
job.
to just play the game. And they don't even respect them as professional athletes that have a job to do. And like, you gotta play aggressive. That's what it is. Like,
That's what I'm
it's
getting
just going
paid
to
to
be.
do.
You know what I'm saying? So that was number one argument. So I felt like that's just not even fair to Caitlin Clark. Like, she should be able to handle it. 2, it's aggressive sport. It is what it is. But also 3, it's like, it made me think of coming to the rescue of this white woman, the victimization of white women.
Every time, like clockwork.
Like clockwork, but where does that originate? For me, the earliest thing that I've heard of is with the movie The Birth of a Nation. Are you familiar with that movie at all?
Yes.
Yes. So for those who don't know, The Birth of a Nation is a movie that was created and actually rejuvenated the Ku Klux Klan. The Ku Klux Klan was dormant until it was February 1915 when this was released. And it galvanized the Ku Klux Klan because essentially the story was surrounding a black man sexually abusing or sexually assaulting a white woman. Everybody was in blackface that was playing the black people. It was actually one of the most racist, like, misogynistic movies you will ever see. But it took the country by storm, so much so that it was played at the White House. President Woodrow Wilson actually watched it. And that movie is credited for giving white America the fear and the idea that the black men of America were going to come and take their white women and daughters and mothers and just terrorize them. And it actually gave reasoning for a lot of the destruction of black towns from Tulsa to a couple towns in Florida that were burned to the ground off of the assumption that a white woman was sexually assaulted by a black man. But one of the things, like, the assumption, even with no proof or anything, and that still stands. The impact that movie has had still stands today in the ideas and thoughts that white America and even other people of color and even black people themselves have adopted of themselves and of their people, thinking that not only that black people are capable of this, but also that white women especially should be the victims, should be the not the heroines, but the damsels in distress that you have to come and save.
Yes.
And through this whole, situation with Caitlin Clark, it has been a thread. This is literally what we have been seeing, the, damsel in distress of her and how we have to save her and how she's the best thing to happen to this league. Why would you hurt her? Why would you do this? And how there's never any accountability in the ways in which she has had moments and she has caused things, even in just her not even advocating or standing up for her coworkers and her teammates that she spends time with on pretty much a daily basis.
I just want to play basketball. I don't know anything. I just want to play basketball. I don't know why everybody's being so mean to me.
Exactly. What's your experience with just the victimization of white women in the media? What have you seen? What are your feelings?
I mean, I've said it 1,000 times at this point on this podcast, but it's always going to relate back to Taylor Swift for me, unfortunately. I have had personal experiences. I remember my first time as a child, and this was in New York, mind you. She was, one of the only white girls in class, and she had some regular crayons, and my mom, when it came to school supplies, she ain't play. She gets down, and she got me the like 180 whatever big super pack with the sharpener in the back. And so I minded my business using my crayons that my mother bought me, and this girl wanted to use my crayons, and I was just like, I was very particular about when people use my crayons because I didn't like when they broke them, because you can't repair a broken crayon. Like, it would make me upset. Now I ain't got that color no more, and so I was like, no. And she just started crying, and basically the teacher was forced to force me to share with her because I was so mean. You already had crayons. It's not like you didn't have supplies. I was never like I didn't. It's not like I didn't want to share because you didn't have. You had, but you wanted mine as well. So that was the first time of like weaponized white tears. But the whole like damsel in distress and like, no, everyone's being so mean to her, like, it's always going to be Taylor Swift for me. And I see a direct, so you can come at it from, as an ex-athlete, I'm going to come at it from a pop culture historian standpoint. I mean, time and time again, Taylor Swift, will do nothing with the immense influence that she has. And in the same point, how she may not like being the center of attention. She may not like everyone kind of like galvanizing behind her and like making her this figurehead, Caitlin Clark. But that's the reality of it. You have this immense influence over the entire league, over everyone's, all eyes are on you, and you do nothing. You say nothing. You do nothing with that platform. So it like, as a grown woman who just went through college, like, I don't know, it's hard for me to, like, I do agree that she should be able to just play ball, but guess what? We live in a society, and we have experienced generations of racism to the point where it's become very covert in some areas and overt in other areas, and Black colleagues are experiencing microaggressions at unseen levels right now. And you could so easily, in the same way that Taylor Swift could so easily come to the forefront and speak on behalf of either certain genocides going on, God forbid, or the lack of, representation in the Grammys, like Adele has, and yet you do nothing. You do nothing with that platform. And so, no, do I believe that she should be the poster child, or that she should have to, or that is it right? Who really cares at this point? Because you have white colleagues that are doing the thing and are having those uncomfortable conversations and making sure to uplift the Black people that built this league, that allowed your white lily ass to be able to ball in here. And you do nothing to pay homage or to pay respect to those people that paved the way for you. So yeah, it's hard for me to feel bad, but that wasn't the question, but that's how I feel.
Fran, I mean, I feel like you've been reading my notes, because that's a beautiful segue. It's a beautiful segue, because that's what we're going to talk about.
We right here, y'all. We right here, y'all. We right here.
That's the thing, right? I think Taylor Swift is a beautiful example, right? You have so much white privilege in the sense that you literally could get away with doing whatever you want, but instead you do nothing. And in that, like Dejanay Carrington said this week, silence is a luxury. And we're going to get into it. So the next section, I was going to get more into Caitlin Clark not making it to the USA team and the uproar and the media and how they've gotten into it. So here's what I'm going to say, because it's pretty like short and sweet, and I don't even think it's like that hard to like deconstruct. But essentially, the media makes money off of the storyline of Caitlin Clark being the victim. One thing that this whole escapade has like made me think of, especially with like the uproar for Caitlin Clark not making it on the USA team, is the idea of manufactured consent. I don't know if you ever heard of this term.
I've heard the term. I'm not familiar. Yeah.
So Noam Chomsky is one, like, well, I think it was him and this other person, but I'm more known for him with the term. But essentially, it's a term that means, let me get it right, Manufacturing consent is the process by which it looks like the public has consented, quote unquote, to some governmental or large organization's action when their opinion has been influenced by PR firms, basically handling journalistic and media agencies, their facts, right?
Right.
So basically, essentially, it's just like the media manufactures consent to make people think that this is what everyone believes, this is what they even believe, like this is what's happening. And even though there isn't really any real government advantage, and to a degree, in the situation, there is the manufactured consent of white is right, black is wrong. And I have to put it bluntly because we always skirt around it, right? We always skirt around of like, hey, like, you know, like, this person is just like doing the best they can, or why don't you just put this person here? Why are you not letting her play on the USA team? That's a terrible business move. It's about making money. When I heard Stephen A say this, I was just like, go stand in the corner. Go stand in the corner. This man,
get a load of this guy.
Just because you can call Dawn Stanley does not mean that you are an expert on women's basketball. That's just not how that works. When Monica McNutt called him out and said that he could have been promoting women's basketball 3 years ago, I'm glad she stood on it. Because these men, especially men who have never played the game professionally or even in college or barely in high school, except on the courts outside before school started, you don't really have room to actually like break down a game, and the only argument you have for why this person should be on the team is because it'll get you more eyes. Go sit in the corner. Go sit in the corner. Cause what are we really talking about?
I want to take his mouth sometimes and just scrunch up his lips like that.
But you know, it would keep moving because society keeps letting men and people adjacent to the patriarchy say nonsense. It has to stop. Friend, it gotta stop.
Yeah. No, it's yeah.
It's actually embarrassing at this point. You had Shannon Sharp up there talking about, oh, that's not how media works. That's not how media works. That's what everybody talking about on Twitter. You create the narrative. Just like there's certain people who want to pretend like a G-side isn't happening and like to hide information and not talk about on mainstream media. You can always drive the narrative with tons of money behind you and pushing out what you want. You are pushing out headlines of Angel Reese being aggressive.
Absolutely.
You are pushing out narratives of Kennedy Carter being aggressive and promoting the idea that white is right and black is aggressive, wrong, and destructive to society.
Yes.
So that's all I have to say on the USA team discourse and black cis straight men cloaking for white women and not advocating for the black women that you asked for to have your back when people like Skip Bayless are treating you like a boy on TV, or when they are confronting you and making you feel small on national scale, but when it comes to the protection and the advocating of black women, you decide to tell them to get in their place and allow a white woman to have more stardom. I can't stand by it anymore. I can't sit back. No one wants to say it out loud because of the whole dynamics of it, but I'm just gonna say it so y'all don't have to. And that's that on that for the media. We're gonna get into Caitlin Clark, and this is the conclusion of it and her complicity in this whole scenario. So when I thought about Caitlin Clark and her responses for everything, her vagueness is what struck me. Like, whenever they ask her, they're very much like, yeah, like, you know, you shouldn't be treating players like this, and people need to treat everybody equally, and yada, yada, yada.
Let me play the tiniest violin, please.
No, like, but my issue with it is it felt very familiar. Like, growing up, being black in very white suburban neighborhoods, you're used to being gaslit constantly. All of us as black people are used to being
Absolutely.
gaslit, but there's a very distinct experience when you are a young black person in an area where you're really not protected, but then also when the issue of racism comes up, you have white people being very vague and being open and not really like even acknowledging your experience. And when every time Caitlin Clark says something along those lines, I feel it.
Yes.
I feel like that little person back then who was like, dang, like, I know I'm feeling this. I'm experiencing this. You guys see this. You see these people doing this to me. But you sit there. Now, our experience as just like a black person, let's say just not in the WNBA, not in sports, like,
right.
Our ancestors built this country, whether it's going to be admitted or not, correct? So you're essentially being gaslit that what you're going through is just, it just happened, or, oh, is it really this? Or, oh yeah, there's bad people, but not everybody's like that. When literally you as the privileged white person that could sit in your silence, your luxury of silence, is benefiting off of what my ancestors and my people have created so you could be comfortable. How does this tie into Caitlin Clark? Caitlin Clark, she played basketball. Did we all play a part in that? No. She worked hard. She did what she did to get to this point. But the ability for her to be able to be on the stage, to have the eyes on her that she did, would not have been possible without the villain origin story of Angel Reese. And it would not be possible without the black women who busted their behinds to build the WNBA to what it is today. It wouldn't even... It's frustrating to see someone who benefits so much off of the labor of black women and white women who advocate for black women to disregard them in such a way and not even put a name to it. We are past the time after the 2012 elections. Oh no, when was Trump? 2020? No,
2016.
2016.
I'll never forget it.
2016. After that, there was a shift. We are no longer in the ambiguity of race. So given all of that, right? Like, you come into the league, even though she has vaguely claimed that she does or doesn't see things because she's not really on social media, even though she's commented on her teammate Nalissa Smith's pictures in the last couple games, and we've seen her have some interaction here or there, but I guess she's never really on there
for a second.
Right. You know, you claim you don't really see it, but especially after the Trump election, you know that there's implications. You know that race is a factor. Whether you want to acknowledge it or not, it's there. And you see and have heard from reporters. Actually, no, reporters haven't even really been asking her properly about the racist comments. There was like
not
one
up
reporter.
Until there was one.
Yeah.
And they had to be black. And they actually asked her twice. They asked her the question, damn. We'll find it and put it in.
We'll find it. Yeah, we'll have Miles find it and put it in.
Seems no matter what you do or what is done to you, it becomes a topic nationally. And a lot of times it becomes divisive. I wonder from your standpoint how you feel about people using your name in whatever culture wars or whatever wars they're fighting. How do you feel about that?
It's not something I can control, so, you know, I don't put too much thought and time into thinking about things like that. And to be honest, I don't see a lot of it. Like I've said, like, basketball's my job. Like, everything on the outside, I can't control that, so I'm not going to spend time thinking about that. You know, people can talk about what they want to talk about, create conversations about, you know, whatever it is, but I think for myself, like, you know, I'm just here to play basketball. I'm here to have fun. I'm trying to help our team win. Obviously, we've won 3 games, and, you know, we feel like we've been in a position to win a few more than that, and My focus is on helping us do that, but I don't, pay much mind to all of that, to be honest.
But that same reporter asked her again, and she did give a more appropriate response. They just kind of reworded their question.
I know you mentioned that, you want to focus straight on basketball. Definitely respect that. But when, just asking you directly, when people use your name for racism, misogyny, whatever, what is your response to that specifically?
Yeah, I think it's disappointing. I think, everybody in our world, deserves the same amount of respect. The women on our league deserve the same amount of respect. So people should not be using my name to push those agendas. It's disappointing. It's not acceptable. But yeah, I mean, this league is a league I grew up admiring and wanting to be a part of. Like, some of the women in this league were my biggest idols and role models growing up and helped me want to achieve this moment right here that I get to play in every single night. So just treating every single woman in this league with the same amount of respect, I think is just a basic human thing that everybody should do. Like, just be a kind person and treat them, how you would want to be treated. And I think it's, very simple.
But she did give a better answer than I've seen her give before. But she's done how many press conferences? She's had how much time to kind of come to the conclusion that she can use her voice in a different way, and it's just incredibly frustrating. Like you said, like, we have lived as a black person our entire lives, you as an athlete and a student athlete for probably over half of your life, and it's so incredibly frustrating the way that they act like it's not happening, but we're actively watching it happen to us, and we're watching you act like it's not happening. Like, do you not understand how we both are a little crazy?
Yeah, but the thing is like, they can pretend like they don't see it. They can pretend like it doesn't affect them until it affects them. Like, exactly. Until you literally point them and you're saying, hey, this and that. Or if it affects their money. Because let's be honest, right? Like, Caitlin Clark has raised to stardom based off of black women. The multi-million-dollar Nike shoe deal she has is because of the storyline that she is the heroine and Angel Reese is the villain. If
and
it
what
wasn't
a great
for
villain
that,
she is, though.
She's amazing.
I love that
she's a Bayou Barbie.
She don't care. She don't care what you got to say.
But you have to not care. I appreciate her demeanor, and I appreciate that she is strong, but she just shouldn't have to be that way, and I'm tired of black women.
She should be able to just play ball. And
you know what I'm saying?
Also, just to circle back, even, about the media segment, there was just recently that whole situation, which would have been a few days before we record this. By the time we posted, it'll probably have been a few days after that. But this most recent game where they're saying that it was the most flagrant foul someone has ever of her knocking her. And literally everyone with common sense is saying it's basketball. Like, there's no way that was on purpose. And people, you're going to get hit. And there were news outlets that I've never seen ever even talk about basketball that have covered this story. And it's insane. It's insane that they're not seeing what is going on and happening to that girl. And they're lucky that she's strong. They're lucky. Because she could really crash out right now and, do some real, really just call everybody, anything but a child of God. She really could. But she's sticking to the game. And she's just, going there and doing her job because she just loves the game. But, yeah, please continue, because I had to touch on that. Because it's insane.
No, absolutely. I think it's really important point because, that foul, right, you could tell it was a basketball play. She was trying to go for the ball. She ended up hitting her head. It happened, right?
It happens.
But the media picking it up and the willful ignorance that they have in the rhetoric and how they portray things is just indicative of the fact of if they were to acknowledge it, they'd have to acknowledge their participation in the structural racism that is continued generationally. So we're going to segue this back to Caitlin because yes, maybe her individually is not racist in any way. Let's say she doesn't see the world.
Let's give her the benefit of the doubt.
Let's give her the benefit of the doubt that she is not looking at it from that way, and she's just coming in. All she want to do is play basketball. But also, maybe if she did have to acknowledge race, she'd have to acknowledge that her brother and her boyfriend were liking racist tweets about Angel Reese.
Clock that T.
Maybe she'd have to acknowledge the fact that maybe other friends and family align with what her fans feel and what they project into the space.
Clock it.
And then maybe she would have to explain her association and have to be confronted with, so if your boyfriend, your brother, both feel the same way, how do you feel about Angel Reese? Now, granted, when confronted with that question in the past in an evasive way, the question has never been fully spot on. How do you feel about Angel Reese? But she has said that there is no beef. She's a good competitor. She's always kept it very succinct, very trite. Like, hasn't really gotten into it. I think that's intentional. Diplomatic is the word. I think it's intentional because she would have to acknowledge the ways in which she has some maybe unconscious biases that affect the way in which she runs her thinking, and also how she's okay with making money off of the backs of antagonizing, terrorizing, and vilifying black women. Because at the end of the day, it don't affect her. It actually makes her more money. Okay. And why would you stop the thing that is bringing in the cash cow, and for people that at the end of the day you don't really care about? So that is how I feel on Caitlin Clark's responses. Mm-hmm. With great leadership, with great visibility comes responsibility.
It does.
Just like Angel Reese is expected to answer and account for all the ways in which she is the villain, you need to account for the ways in which you are responsible for not checking your fans. Yeah. We've talked about it with many people on here. From Nicki Minaj, Beyonce had to check her fans. Okay, she had to check the Beehive. We talked about, I don't know if you heard about Taylor Swift's fan going at Kelsey, what's his name's ex-girlfriend.
Oh, the ex-girlfriend. I wouldn't put it past
Kayla Nicole. There's rumors that there's a code of Taylor Swift fans or Swifties trying to attack her and find information on her family, online. Anyway.
Get a job.
You have a following now, and just like many black people and even black children are forced with the realities of the world that they live in, you have to be forced with the realities of the world you live in and the part that you are playing in it.
Come on, friend.
This whole indecisive, this whole vagueness of I'm just here to play plays into the victimization that is then playing into the storyline, which is playing into you making more money off the backs of the women that put you to where you are right now, whether you want to acknowledge it or not. It's not right. It's not fair. Now, I don't think Caitlin's a bad person. She hasn't done anything outright for me to say, problematic. But there's enough instances and inferences where I have to question your integrity and your moral standing if you're going to sit here and let people be vilified for just playing the game. There's other white women who have done it. Call a friend. You got Paige Beckers.
Love her.
Haley Van Lith, even though she's funny, but even in every time she has been asked about the experience of her players who are black, she has spoken up for them. It is a privilege to sit in silence.
Who does Paige play for again?
UConn.
Right.
So she has one more year, so she decided to stay for another year. Right. I think that one thread that I'm noticing too is that players who end up, or white players who have more interactions with black people in black situations, they have more empathy because I think they know their experience a little more. Your friends, you're there more. Just from the teams we've seen Caitlin has been on, and just how she grew up, you get a sense that she doesn't have that experience of being around a lot of black people. Yeah. But at the end of the day, it don't take much to read a book. It don't take much to open up Twitter and go on Instagram when you feel like it and notice the ways in which they are portraying this person. You are responsible to a degree. At any point, you could put out a statement and say, hey, y'all, this is another human being. you need to stop. You need to stop perpetuating this narrative, and it will quell everything, but you choose not to. And it's frustrating. And none of the media is going to outright ask you, except for that one reporter. But we're going to do it on here. And we're going to say, hey, you have a responsibility to speak out against racism and fascism and misogyny by literally saying, hey, this is another human being. Please stop attacking black women. That's it. That's my closing thoughts. Marz, what are your closing thoughts? What you got to say?
I couldn't say it better than you did. I'm telling you. But, I mean, you would think this wouldn't be that difficult. And now that it's gotten to the point where it's like pulling teeth, now, like, I mean, I can't speak for the league, but I would be like, she should just shut up forever, unfortunately, at this point. Should she? Absolutely not. But that's just kind of, that's how I would be feeling as a black woman. Yeah, I mean, it's a tale as old as time. We've seen it time and time again. And like you said, she is not a horrible person. We don't know her personally. And she hasn't overtly done anything for us to feel that way. But certain things that she has chosen to not do. So you can be a bad person by what you do say, but you can also be perceived a certain way about what you don't say. And continuing to live in this little fantasy world that white women love to live in, because it's really comfortable there, and they don't have to answer any of the hard questions, and they can just be oblivious and, I don't know, I just want to make music, I just want to play basketball. That little fantasy world that they love to just live in, it will never coincide with reality. And the same way that you know, people like to fall on, well, she's young, blah, blah, blah. We were young too. Before I was a 27-year-old woman and before you were a grown adult, we were young experiencing blatant racism or microaggressions. So were we too young we weren't too young to experience it, but you're too young to acknowledge it and to read a couple books and to understand implicit bias and you know, microaggressive behaviors and the different ways in which racism likes to redesign and hide itself. And it's, I mean, I refuse to believe that a college learned, that someone that just went through university doesn't have the capacity to, you know, read up on certain things like that. I can only give so much grace. That's just kind of just where I'm at. I am curious to see if there does come a point where she does the right thing and uses this platform to tell these grown men to shut up and to tell these racist fans to not rally behind her, because that would, you know, at a certain point you have to create that line. You have to separate yourself from these people, because the longer you don't, the more we're all going to assume that that's really how you feel. Unfortunately, the more you refuse to separate yourself. Excuse me. You can continue to say that you just want to play basketball and whatever, but that will continue to allow us to come to the conclusion that that's how you really feel, unfortunately, because you are the company that you keep. All these people all these people rallying behind you, all these people that are coming to your defense, you know, they all kind of are sharing a common goal outside of the black men. They're just coons and just want to, you know, they're following behind what the rest of the media is saying, which follows back to what you were talking about with
manufactured consent.
They're just following that same line of thinking as everybody else. I really doubt that they actually feel that way, but they could, because, you know, black men don't usually think for themselves. But you know, it's so incredibly just like it's so, I have no other word other than it's just so disappointing. But I am excited for what happens with the rest of the league. I would like to just comment on Angel Reese, and again, following back on how she just plays into it. She is the same type of energy that Sha'Carri gives. Like, even with her back against the wall, even with everybody coming at her, she still performs, and she still is just, you know, she's just gonna be her. Like, I'm really like, I really hope she's able to make it through this, because I'm sure that Serena went through it. You know, she's had situations where she's had opponents that were white and that were given certain types of leniencies that she was never ever awarded, and still had to perform. You know, it's always the notion for a black woman to perform twice as hard just to get half as much. It's like we said, it's a tale as old as time. So to stop myself from continuing to repeat myself, Caitlyn, girl,
Yeah.
those are my thoughts, girl.
No, thank you for your thoughts. One thing before we go, I wanted to comment that Serena Williams, when asked about Caitlin Clark, said that she really likes her and feels that she is being bullied, and knows how it feels to be bullied. So there's that. I'm gonna leave it with that. I don't know what to make of that. You make of it what you want. But that's what we're ending it with. Okay, this was a fun one. I had really fun doing
Psychic
this.
damage. I took some damage on that one.
I don't know what that
At least minus 50. My health bar went like that.
But Fred, we saw it coming. Like, we saw her makeup. Like, it was only a matter of time. But anyway, y'all have a great rest of your day. Thank you for watching. I had so much fun doing this. I loved researching this. I hope everybody learned from this. I'm hoping white people learn to use their privilege for good. And yeah, we're going to talk to you guys. We're going to talk to you guys next time. See y'all.